assume some seats. I don't think there's too much organised. In fact, June was a little bit worried. She'd seen a few faces that she hadn't quite anticipated. I hope they all know to pay her. We don't want June out of pocket from all of this. So I think we have to have the honesty bowl somewhere. But anyway, if you all team up, get yourselves a partner, get yourselves a seat, and we'll get organised. How about that?
Although I will.
Don't want to hasten brevity on them. And there's a few empty seats. Management said they can find a few extra seats if they're needed. So sort yourselves out. I'm going to get, this is a welcome partner, and I'm going to get you one. I've got your thing here, Pete.
Yeah.
I think so as well. I get it.
I have. Goodness me, that drinks queue's getting long. We certainly don't want to cut the drinks queue, but we think maybe the queue is to keep it moving. A good game's a quick game, I think. Anyway, I'm Gordon Arthur. We've not met before, and I think I've saw a lot of you. When was it? April? How long ago was that? 6 or 7 months ago? Something like that. Yeah, time does go, doesn't it? We're all looking that much older, are we? Except Sri Skandaraja. It's lovely to see Sri. There's no night in this place without Sri. Sri and Savvy, thank you for coming. And they're tripping around the world. It's lovely that we've just caught them on the hop. Well, actually, I think this is a fantastic attendance. I must confess, I was a little bit worried about this time of year. There's so many functions going on that I was a bit concerned about the numbers, and I received quite a few apologies and heard of more. There's a 50th birthday bash going on down at Breed Street, and there's a host of other things. But thank goodness they all didn't come. Well, Pete would have had to hire the MCG or something. But there were apologies from Ian and the two, Ian, Pearson and Hoffman. I mean, they were going to tell some tales, but unfortunately they had to cop out of being on other things. Rob Dawson and Harrison, don't I remember them giving me a hard time. I'm sure they'd love to have given you a hard time too, Pete, but they've got other engagements, so they apologise. And Janine Sylvester apologises. Good old Janine, she's been an integral part of our life, both positively and negatively for a long time. Indeed they are. And of course, there's an apology from David and Kay Burke. We all understand the situation there, but I suppose while we've mentioned it and we've thought about it, Midhat Ghali reassures me that cancer of the kidney is different to 5 to 10 years ago. There's a lot more that can be done, a lot more hope, and the Burkes are being positive. Oh, they know the situation is not unrealistic, but they want to be positive, and the last thing they would want is a pall over our levity tonight. So we really do need to have a good one for Pete, and we'll be having a good one for David as well, because those thoughts will go there. And of course, welcome to Nina and Peter et al. Et al. He's given me a list here, and I looked at it, and I said, gosh, we've got royalty, we've got celebrity, we've got just about every honour in the book, and I don't know how to introduce all these people. And I thought, well, I can see why Julia Gillard refused to come. Ted Bailey, he wasn't going to front up to this lot of rebellious nurses, so I can understand why he wasn't. But Peter, I think I'm in all due. I see you've got the top table in inverted commas. No presumptions here, but you just come and read this list. How about Pete come and tell us who he's got?
Well, many thanks, Gordon. Well, basically, I was asked to select my sort of table, so of course Nina is there with me, my first wife.
How many others have you?
I said my first. And my 4 beautiful children there, or handsome, whichever is appropriate. Monique Burke is here, my oldest daughter, with Hayden Bowell. Ted Burke, Edward Peter Burke, born on my birthday, with the lovely Amy Marnie are here.
That didn't scar his psyche for life.
And the only married child of mine, Andrew, Mr. and Mrs. Andrew Burke are here. And hobbling around in her splint is my recently begun nursing student, Nina Mary Francis, with Michael Taylor. And of course some of you, especially the girls, would have met Nina's father, Peter Lynch, who has an unerring way of making his presence felt wherever. Of course he did run 9 Darling Street, the reception place, for many years, so I think it's in the Lynch genes. We've also got Professor Gavin Fabini, Chief of Neurosurgery at the Austin, and his first wife, Jan. Thank you both, and thank you, Jan. I'll sign it later. We've got Professor Barry Cairns and Lady Mary Cairns.
Oh, that's who we should. Due homage there, due homage.
We have, there's so many glitterati. Professor Tanya Boll, a world-famous dermatologist and multiple diseases specialist. And we also have hidden over there Sir John and Lady Sheila Corser. Thank you for coming. And also, particularly here, I have very important people from my Yulorn medical days. I've got Lady Betty Dobson.
Lady Betty!
And the ex-Royal Canadian Mounted Police Commander Mary Phillips, who stars now at Gippsland Pathology. And from the first 8 years of my solo practice, Lady Susan Payne. Thank you, Sue. And from my last 3 years of practice, Lady Kerry McClure. So, but everyone here, I'm honoured that you could all come out tonight, and but I'll let our MC carry on.
Ah, great, Pete. Well done, Peter. There's a video going on. Is that the thing? Is it? Righto. So be warned, everybody. Don't be too intimidated. It's a tiny little thing there. Can't do any damage, can you? All right. Well, it's nice to see Peter dressed in sartorial splendour and his proverbial hallmark bow tie. Well, I'm rather pleased you haven't got your colorectal sports coat on today. No one here has lined up for a colonoscopy, so it was a good choice. Well, in fact, I didn't come like this either. I've been accosted, and my tie's disappeared into Soundy's bag, and I've got a... What does it look like? Pretty good? Yeah. thank you whoever did the honours. It was nice being dressed, Sally. You've got a new competition.
Not mine.
Yeah, right. So, look, I think we've done, mind you, Pete, there are a few people here who are disappointed a bit, though. They thought you might have had your hat and trench coat. And they were thinking that would be a very suitable attire. I dragged out my old Harrison tweed 6 or 7 months ago, and they thought you might be dragging out the trench coat. They actually thought they might give you a glass eye and send you Mickey Spillane around the streets of Brooklyn, or giving you a pipe and sent you on a Monsieur Hulot's holiday. But they really, I hope you still got it, and I hope it'll come back again, mate. Like on, keep in mind, and we'll be leading the fashion in avant-garde fashionistas.
I had to wear what Jude told me to wear.
Oh, no, that's disappointing. June's a spoiled sport. Well, everybody, let's have the first course and let's enjoy the whole night. The levity's on. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Complete without George Owen. We're actually very fortunate that he actually got on time today. Don't hold that again. He was on time, so we're pleased about that. We have loaded something onto him. Actually, David Burke's was to have taken this position, so we've just moved things a little along. Oh, Bev is going to make a little intrusion. Come up here, Bev. Tell us what you've got.
Alright, hi everyone, I'm Bev. I've got a bit of fun and games tonight just to break the night up a little bit. We've got a little bit of a competition. I've got a couple of trivia questions about our PB. And so every now and then I'm going to ask a couple of questions. You'll get a little ticket if you get the
I
question
presume
right.
that means our personal best.
Stop it.
We're all keen swimmers now.
So you'll get a ticket, and at the end of the night we'll get Peter to draw out a ticket, and the winner will win a little prize. And also I'm going to send around this blue book. It's got nothing in it. I want you all to write your name in it and a number, and we're going to try and guess how many bow ties does Peter actually own.
He's competing with Imelda Marcos, you know.
And the person who gets closest, or actually gets the right number, will win a little prize as well. So
Does family have to be excluded, or can they have a go? They wouldn't have a clue anyway, would they?
I think
No.
anyone knows is Nina.
We're making sure she doesn't get the prize.
That's all right, you can have a go. You can go under a shoe. Alright, so when Gordon's finished talking, we'll do a couple of questions and we'll start off, have a bit of fun.
All right. So the more you get right, the better you've got, or better show you've got of picking out the right number. All right. I'm having a go myself there. Okay, we'll be in that. Okay, Bev. Well, let's start off with George first, and then
They call me back up.
yeah, then we'll call Bev after that. Okay, George. It's nothing's complete without George. No further introduction.
Thank you very much, and Peter and Nina, it's your night tonight. It's difficult to sort of compete with the good variety that you've assembled here. And but I was going to say life is a bit of bittersweet, and we all have that bittersweet. And the fact that I'm standing here pay tribute to you, Peter, is my privilege. I know David will be a much better person for doing that. Peter, you've been an outstanding member of the medical community, but you've also contributed on many levels, and we know that. Both at the old Traralgon Valley Hospital, we've had a camaraderie and a friendship, a real spirit in our hospital that has not been translated, I don't think, to the new one. Which is a shame, but it's a bigger hospital, that's different. my job was really to come here as a part of the as a chairman of the City Medical Staff Group, and in fact you've made such a big contribution to that organisation and to the maintenance of medical staff and hospital practices, the cohesion of the hospital, both in Provo and Regional, that it was considered appropriate that the medical staff group give you a little gift. And of course, finding a gift for a man who has so much,
Everything.
a cupboard full of bow ties. I mean, I found this tonight, Peter. It was actually in my son's drawer, amongst a lot of other things. I won't mention it. And so I thought, this is a difficult task. What do you give a man who has
Penicillin.
not these days?
Doesn't cure it like it used to.
So one of the apologies tonight is a great friend of yours, is Grant Harrison. And I asked Grant, what can we get Peter? And he thought for a while, as he does, and he said, Peter has a great love in life.
Nina.
Old enamel. Old enamel. We'll have old enamel. And I thought, this is strange. I've heard of the old cheese. Old enamel. So I thought, well, maybe it's something a bit better than that. We could change the old to say venerable enamel. Because I know you're a wordsmith, and you love your words. Very eloquent. Veteran didn't seem quite right for me, so we came up. I thought of another word. Perhaps venerable enamel.
Sounds like a toilet.
A very old one. But then, venerable enamel. I thought that's what it was. That was clearly what we are. So, Nina. Behind every man is an even better woman, usually. There's no doubt. There's no doubt that your contribution has been enormous. And every man in this room will probably attest to the same situation. So, Nina, I thought we had to give something that we sympathise Nina. And that. So I thought about this old enamel again, and I went back to searching around and actually forgot to do it for a while. And Grant sort of said, "Have you found that old enamel yet?" And sorry, that's me. And on Tuesday night, I suddenly remembered. So I did a bit of searching, and I came up. Can you believe it? With an old enamel Nina. And let's have that slide. Well, I said bittersweet. Well, I've had a bittersweet 24 hours because I found this old and I found this old enamel and I thought, just Nina. Cheeky, give him the big wink. She's handing out a beer of frothing lager, ice cold, and I thought that's exactly what we need. The bittersweet part is that it failed to come, so I've only got this Peter, and beautifully wrapped. So, Peter, this is a little gift from the senior medical staff group. The real one comes on Monday. say is, Peter, I think you can look forward to many years of sitting back and having this gorgeous woman handing you a beer.
I should have done it sooner. I think what they're referring to is I love old enamel signs like I've got one, State Savings Bank of Victoria, guaranteed by your government, it's gone. Shell oil, that sort of thing. So that's one of my in later life I've become very interested in the old enamel signs. So thank you, we will treasure this.
Okay, don't move your chairs too much because we're going to have a slideshow after Bev's little interlude. Where are you, Bev, darling?
Here.
Okay, come on down.
Here I am.
Yes, here you are, Bev. Tell us about it.
Alright, so I've got some questions here. We've been doing a bit of
Oh, now what am I? I've got to pick the first hand, do I? What do I do?
I need you to, when you get the answer, if you think you know the answer, hand straight up in the air, right? And we'll try and find who's the first one and we'll let you answer it. If you get it right, you're not allowed.
Wait a second. You know the answer, so you say if it's right, but I have to pick whose hand's up.
Yes.
Can I see around there? Oh, I'll stand out here.
Okay.
Any hands up yet? Oh, there's one. Simone.
Alright, the first question. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
When did Peter first come to the valley to work?
Oh, gee. She's not right. Well, I didn't see where the next hands are. All right, over here. One girl, one boy. 1987, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, take your card.
Come and grab a ticket.
Roll up, get your ticket.
Oh, that's
Well, give it to your lovely girl. Give it to your lovely wife. She must have known that. There's all.
Give it to someone.
It's only pillow talk.
Give it to Carrie. Give it to Carrie.
All right. I'm sorry, I didn't realise that.
Okay, this one.
I have met him, but gee.
They won't get this one. People who work with people get this one. Alright, what size gloves?
All right, up the back there you go. Yeah. Janine, eh? 7.5 what? What'd she say? 7.5 what, Pete? Utex black.
Yeah,
She is.
Black. What other colour?
she's right.
Gosh, I've never heard of it.
You get the green ones and you get the
It's got to be black. Well done, Janine. Give it to Janine. Oh, right, you can have it. I don't know.
Alright, this one.
I have them handmade.
Oh,
This one's really, really hard.
yeah.
How many children does Peter and Nina have?
Yep. Come and get your coat. I'll stand this way.
You need two. You need one each side.
I need someone to look back.
Well, Nina can look. All right, Nina, you do that. I'm biased.
do that side or that side.
Oh, well, you do that side. I'll give these a fair go.
Okay. Alright, everyone ready?
Four that he knows about.
What is Peter's favourite AFL team?
Over here.
Donna? Yes!
What was his phone? I didn't hear that.
Donna!
I didn't even hear the question. What was it? What was the question? What was the question? Where's the hearing aid? I've got it in, but I didn't hear it. I'm falling apart, Shrek.
They've had a few on that side. Just hang
It's
on.
very hard to pick. One more and then we move on.
Okay. This one is another one who works with Peter will know this. In which procedure does Peter employ a Parkinsonian
Don't over here.
No, Donna's had a go. Right, Simone.
No, this is Donna.
Yes, it's cold.
Did you know that, Simone? Well, why didn't you answer?
Puppy.
Right, we'll move on. You got one more, have you?
I'll just
Oh, I see. You've done them in pages. Oh, all right. Sorry, I'm intruding here. She's got a couple more to finish the page. Come on, then.
I'm going to fire you, Gordon.
Yeah, go on.
All right, what is
Not
the
a good
Burke
assistant.
property called? Not family members, no family members. We're going to get to
This one here, Gary Providence.
All right, then.
See, I like that one, Peter. Yeah.
Correct.
Providence. Yeah.
All right, one more question
I
for this
remember
little segment, and then I'll sit
hunting for that place and said, that sounds like Peter Burke, I'll go in there.
down. Okay. This one's really, really easy. If you don't know this one, I need to slap you. In regards to the bow tie, is it bought or tied?
Oh, Simone's up. Simone's definitely up.
Yes, you are.
What's the difference? What do you mean bought? You got to buy it.
Yours is bought like that,
Pre-tied,
Oh,
whereas
Self-tie.
Peter will do the bow himself. He will tie it.
self-tied,
self-tied.
not pre-tied.
There you go, my dear. Okay. I'll be back later for with a steak. I'm here for Friday.
Now, Timbo, can everybody see the screen? What are we actually looking at? Is this the collage? Is it, Pete?
No idea.
Nina, what are we looking at, darling?
I've no idea.
Sit down and enjoy that.
Do you have an idea?
No?
No, there you go. So sit down. Keep it out of the way.
Have you still got it, Pete?
Here it is.
Change the bit.
How much was the bill?
Oh, he goes fishing. Oh, little Leslie. Oh, where's that couple?
Where did the hair go?
Not too bad, you still got some.
God. Save the Valley Hospital. Yeah.
Where's that?
Greece.
Moe's house.
Kissing salami.
The exhibitionist.
I look like a wolf.
Where are the rest of the kids?
Growing up.
Yeah, thanks, Andy.
Wrong way.
David cried, Traffic,
Wow.
yeah, yes. Collingwood Magpies were the first given the old phone.
Got a phone in your room?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm
remember
missing
that
on the bottom left. No risk. It's a bit of no risk.
Timbo. He's great, Angie and Tim. They really were. We don't want you to give up your day jobs, Angie and Tim, but you just about could go professional with this now, you know. We've given you enough trials and tribulations to endure. Well done, yes, well, indeed. Now, Bev, have you got a little interlude to breeze us all up again? Come on, Bev, quick. Where's Nina?
Coming.
You got quite a collection there, Nina. That was a good effort, dear.
Oh, thank you, dear.
Now I've decided because the tunnel vision that we've got up here. If you know the answer to the question, stand up like this.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
Ready.
Where did Peter recently go to give a talk on medical history? They want to stand up.
All right.
No.
Was that right? No. Nina's not accepting
Stand
that.
up and wave your hands around.
You might be close, yes. Where? Italy? No. Kim?
That's half the question. Yes, it was.
Bird Island. No, up the back. Be quiet. No, well, I'm not listening.
Yes. There's someone over there.
Oh, she said the Mediterranean cruise.
She said the Black Sea.
The Black Sea wins. Very good. It was a cruise on the Black Sea, was it? Peter? It was a cruise on the Black Sea.
Yeah, we looked at
But the Black Sea wins. You reckon that's
Oh, yeah.
right? Yes. Okay.
Right. Everyone ready for the next one?
Yeah, come
ready
on.
to leap up? What star sign is Peter?
What?
Star sign.
Star sign. Jude. Gemini, everybody.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, the next one is a multiple choice. Are you ready to hear the multiple choice?
Oh.
It's a multiple choice. How would Peter describe a splinter in the index finger? A. A splinter in the index finger. B. A foreign body in the index finger. Or C. Corpus alienus digitaris contagium index.
Give it to her. That's perfect, Peter. Right, next one. You've got to be this side. You've got to be this side.
What colour are Peter's eyes?
What colour is eyes? I was giving you a...
There you go.
Up the back, Christine. Brown?
Brown.
Yes.
The brown. All right, Chris. Keep going.
Okay, I've got one more for this page.
Yep, one more for the page. You're going.
I'll just wait for this ticket to be handed out to the boss. It's a very tricky one. You've got to think about this one.
We're getting harder, aren't we?
What is Peter's favourite operation?
Harry. Category.
Not gallbladder.
Varicose veins?
F. No.
Carpal tunnels.
This one.
F, can you stand up and say that again? Patrons is correct.
Well done.
And why? Because he likes to sit there.
Because I can sit down with you.
You can sit down and have your conversation.
Kick her out.
Okay, that's it for the page.
Right. All right, now, Mike Sanderson. Okay, Mike, brother Mike. Brother Mike. Yeah, time, mate.
Oh, he's got something in his hand.
George earlier on mentioned a bittersweet feeling about tonight. And actually, I've got to say, I feel the same way myself. In days when I was younger, I used to look forward to these evenings, evenings of conviviality, maybe with a bit of character assassination thrown in, a few embarrassing stories. But these days, now that people are retiring actually younger than I am, I'm starting to worry a bit. I don't know whether I should go up to Peter, slap him on the back and in my best Aussie accent say, "G'day, Petey boy. How you go, mate? All right? Great to hear you're retiring." Should have done years ago. Or, on the other hand, you could commiserate and say, "Oh, I'm so terribly sorry to hear about your retirement." But then it would sound rather like, "Sorry to hear your loss. Hope you lived long enough to enjoy it." And always you have at the back of your mind, as Peter Batchelor memorably pointed out, on the occasion of his 70th birthday, this is the last milestone bar one. So, looking around tonight, I'm relieved of these heavy thoughts by a great flutter of bow ties. Now, as has been pointed out, sometimes these are worn as a matter of necessity by surgeons. If you come from a colorectal clinic or pancreatic clinic, it's maybe an advantage. But with Peter Burke, it's more like an insignia, it's a badge of office. And that's because, trying to think of one word to sum him up, I'd say he's a gentleman. Now, gentleman is a word that's changed its meaning since it first came to English from Norman times. Originally it related to the right to bear arms and social responsibility, so it meant you were pretty high up the food chain. Then later on, sort of around about this sort of Tudor times, it became more to mean a man of independent means who didn't need to work for a living. Now, I don't think either of those apply to Peter. The 1850s sort of meaning is much more what one would think of in terms of Peter's life. Be a middle class professional probably, with a superior education and what we now call a social conscience. And I think that sums him up pretty well. We have to be a little bit cautious though in this company because being a large number of Australians here, sometimes the word gentleman's used in an ironic sense. For example, gentleman farmer or gentleman column in sports.
Here.
And the thing that goes along with being a gentleman is, of course, manners. Now, manners aren't always a strong feature of the surgical fraternity. I'm sure people who work in operating theatres are well aware of that. They are something that patients appreciate. You won't see Peter Burke slagging off at his scrub nurse or berating his technician. He only slags off at politicians and administrators. And he doesn't complain about the position of the light when the going gets tough. It's rather different with him. And I've noticed this several times when he's in a tight corner. He'll actually go, if you like, excessively and deliberately quiet, concentrate. And you'll notice under his breath there is this running commentary. It's a bit like a senior cricket commentator doing a broadcast on a batsman surviving very well on a sticky wicket. Now, I mentioned superior education. I think what it is with Peter, he's got a great sense of curiosity. As you get to know him, it's very carefully concealed, but and he also has a very retentive memory, and he's very widely read, especially outside medical field. And he also has a delightful eye for the incongruous. That's why when he gives a lecture, there's often that little detail that's picked up that makes the information he's giving you stick in your mind. I think it came from a sound basis at school. Now, I can't imagine what school that he went to was like. It may or may not be a bit like the direct grammar school I went to in London. I want to digress slightly. This is a tale of two actors. In our year there was a Paul Green and a Robert Cushman. And I feel like they were the Helen Mirren and the Jeremy Irons of our class. And the year that I can recall in particular, the set play was Macbeth. And you can imagine a small room that was originally a bedroom in a suburban house being taken over by the school and turned into a theatre. There was a little platform at one end, a whole load of folding deck chairs around the place, and these spotty, sweaty, rather smelly 16-year-olds were sitting around, huddled close as they could get to the radiators. And on the stage were Paul and Robert. And Paul Green, who was playing Lady Macbeth, slumped forward in his chair to indicate that he died. And Robert Cushman had a voice that Jeremy Irons would envy, but unfortunately a face that looked remarkably like Punch from Punch magazine. Began the monologue, intoning beautifully, tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. And the first question, how does that carry on? Creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays flighted fools the way to dusty death. And a bit of gloomy stuff after that too. And looking at you, I feel in that position suddenly it's yesterday, it's no longer tomorrow. And it's a bit like going through Checkpoint Charlie, going the wrong way. I can't imagine Peter in his retirement resorting to dressing down in carpet slippers, shuffling around the kitchen, while Nina tries desperately to get rid of him for a ladies' lunch. I can't imagine him making off for hours on end to the bowls club, playing golf. Instead, I see him getting up at an early hour, having a full English breakfast, and then he'll either get out his shotgun and walk around his estate, and he'll pursue some... Sorry? Yeah, I haven't heard about that. I can imagine. And I can imagine him sitting down in his study, opening his volume, his collection of books, maybe including Disease of the English Monarchs, and examining them with great delight and going through the detail. And I have to say, it's something for that I envy him. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's a very erudite. I love that one. Mike Sanderson is the sort of anaesthetist that mumbles under his breath usually. I never quite understand it. I mean, I have this little patter when I was doing endoscopy of positioning the patient and position. He'd mutter under his breath, yes, nothing to do with romance. That's not the same fella either. Very nice speech there. Up to standard, thank you. And a bit of it, you've got the last, another page, and then Kim, darling, we'll have you. Oh yes, Nina, we need help.
I'm coming.
Alright,
Alright.
Right, this way.
Look at me. Alright, now this one,
I'm all eyes.
I'm sorry to the Maryvale ones because I don't know what he does there, but so this is a bit of a Traralgon question. But you can guess. Okay, at LRH, what colour scrubs does Peter wear?
Here we are up here. Blue.
No.
Blue.
No,
Is that correct?
over here. Maryvale. Pale blue.
That's Jane. Jane's got it.
Jane?
Jane over here.
Jane.
Jane.
What did she say? Blue. That's the answer, blue. We all wear blue. What's so jolly about that?
Green.
Oh, green. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. No, I'm a blue man too.
Okay, and here's another one. At LRH, what kind of hat does he always wear? Stand up,
Maryvale. Yeah, here.
A balaclava. A balloon balaclava. Come on, Janine. You're going to have tickets on this. Right, next one.
Alright, you ready?
Keep going. Fast game's a good game.
Which year did Peter require the services of the CFA?
Last year.
2010.
2010.
I'm going to give it to her because she's scaring me. There you go.
Is that when Judy Harris had to rescue her?
I'm going to give it to Judy.
That's the one where you give it to Judy. She should know. She just didn't want to get up. She's the one that rescued him. Right, move on.
Okay. At LRH, what day is Peter's general list?
Tuesday.
Oh no, she can have that. She can have that. She's right here. Now don't sit down.
What day is Peter usually at Maryvale?
Thursday. Righto, Magna. Come here. Righto, move on.
Alright. Who makes Peter's lunch every day? Erin. Yes, Erin.
Nina makes his lunch. That is pathetic. You do look pretty good though, son. Must have done you the world of good.
I know, it's a bloody good lunch.
Did you hear that? What about you, Sri? You've been lucky like that.
I don't do lunch.
Okay, you ready?
You don't do lunch.
Ready?
Come on.
What is Peter always doing when the kids come home? Mowing the lawn.
How do you know that? Yes! Yes, well done. I don't know how you know that.
That's it. Oh, Kim, darling.
I know, AJ. I feel like slightly infiltrated. Peter, darling. Oh, God. Oh, yes.
No, I have no idea. I have no idea what this is.
Please sit down. Now, I do want to dispute one of the answers to the questions. I'm his booking clerk and have been for a long time, 7 years, is that right, Sue? Right? Something like that? More, probably longer, probably. And I reckon I've booked in more carpal tunnels than I have Dupetrons.
That wasn't the question.
Well, then my question is, how come you didn't hand out pamphlets for Dupetrons and you forgot the... Yeah, that's right, I said hand surgery.
Move on.
Anyway, I'm over that now. Just. Okay. I still need my words because I'm getting old. Okay. But I hope this song rounds up a lot of what we know about you, and it's very scary how much I actually do know about you. Anyway, this song I think depicts you. Now, there is a little bit of audience participation. Okay. When I get to a certain place in the song, it'll go something like this. Da 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 da. Now when you gotta go. Okay, everybody?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. And then I'll go da 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 da. Oh, very good. And then I'll get to another part of the song, and I need you to echo what I say. So when I go like that, you just have to repeat what I sang, okay? All right, here we go. Are we ready? One minute he walked in the joint. Now then, hang on. Anyone could see a real smart dresser, star professor, good looking, so refined. Everyone could tell what was on his mind. I'm trying to be classy, it's not good. So let's get straight to the point. Words are bigger than the other things we see. It's complicated, very tricky. It's about to unfurl my erudite dicky. Very high, you little people. packed for your lunch. A sandwich or a cake, it's just a little hunch. Hey, Phoebe, darling, what a different place it will be. So you wanna retire? Set your paddock on fire. Show us all your bow ties. No one else has your style. But really, darling, who's going to write a novel on our paperwork? Such as a surgical correction of a right lower limb, great saphenous cyst in Burke's veins, with multiple stabbings and possible avulsions. And then you walk out of the joint. It's a sad affair, promise you this is true. And I've even had a drink. Hey, Phoebe! Hey, Phoebe! Farewell, Phoebe! Farewell, Phoebe! What a different time it will be for you, not for us. And I'm going to take that back to the girls and patients there.
Well, that was certainly different, wasn't it? Well done, kid. Well done, kid. Now, one thing, Pete, they certainly know our little idiosyncrasies and our little foibles. We're getting a fair dose of them tonight. I think June wants to make a little contribution. Come on, Junie, dear.
Another one bites the dust. Another one gone. Infamous was the Queen's hit song. Your retirement makes you the 4th general surgeon to call it a day to pursue your dreams. Since LRH opened their doors to treat patients. Must be succession planning. The seniors making room for the younger generation. I remember when I arrived from Traralgon campus to work in Maui, which is now non-existent. David Burke, Mr. Brownstein were the general surgeons there. The fight was on to save the hospital, but alas, it was not to be. We moved on to Traralgon and the new hospital opened in 1998. You and David Burke came along to join the Traralgon lads of Chan, Scandaraja and Gordon. Now it's 2011 and Mr. Chan's the only one left. But we've got Mr. Garley. And Carl and somebody else. I used to love doing calls on Tuesday night because I know I'll get home, but not nowadays. We're there till all hours of the morning. So, and the weekends as well. Now I have to change my calls now. Well, the farm tends to take up most of your time nowadays. We heard about the time when the CFA ran out to you, when you forgot you were burning off.
Thanks, Jude.
When you take the mic to respond to this sender, I've got a couple of questions to ask to you. First of all, your number plate. Asian Feng Shui doesn't call for the triple. No. That number. And there's been a few theories floating around about that number plate. Somebody came out maybe at that precious age, that number plate might have held a lot of beautiful memories. The second one, your bow tie affair. When did it start? And I do believe, like Gordon said, you've got a collection like Imelda Marcos has the shoes.
No.
It's been your trademark, and it's been difficult, and it hasn't been difficult at all finding a theme for your send-off. Patients even comment on your bow ties. And so we're all going to line up fairly soon, but now that you've dashed me, it's telling me that it's all pre-made up. I thought we're all lined up for a lesson in how to tie the proper bow tie. Your family, your famous brother. He's not here tonight, is he? The one that gets his photo taken whenever some celebrity gets into town. During the Australian Open, we always have the photo up on the wall there. Yeah. And your lovely wife Nina. The number of campaigns she's been on to save the hospital, save this, save that. And the children. We all know you before we even met you. All throughout the theatre sessions, we've all, Monique's doing this, so-and-so's doing that, so we all know about you. But it's lovely meeting you all. Now, Tuesdays, all-day general surgery won't be the same. It's been very enjoyable working with you. Staff are kept in the know about who's who on the social calendar. Topics are very diverse because you're very keen to share all your educational knowledge, especially when you've been overseas too. Now, Peter, the staff who worked with you all throughout these years would like to take this opportunity to thank you for your help, for all the information that you shared with all of us, and for making everyone's life a lot more easier. To my colleagues who've helped make this night memorable for you, to Angie and Tim for your classy placemats, for Bev for that.
You mean this exhibitionist in front of me?
To the lovely MC who never shuts up. It's not your farewell, but never mind. And whatever you're doing in the future, Peter, good luck. Best wishes in pursuing your dreams. Thank you. Everybody stand up your glasses. Let me give him a toast, please.
All right, go for it.
Hang on, 2 shakes while I go to that.
You better get one. Righto, June, come on, give it to him.
Everyone, cheers.
Cheers. For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us, and so say all of us, and so say all of us. For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us. Hip hip! Hip hip! Hip hip! Beauty, Peter! Now, Bev, have you got a last page there? Come on, Bev, and then Chris, you can have a little word. And then Nina, darling, we want to hear from you. We're not going to hear from Peter. No. Well, right, this is Bev's last page.
Okay.
Just before I start, is the little photo album that I made, is that still going around?
Yes.
Yep.
What's the
yep.
photo album?
I made a little photo album for Peter.
All right, are you just showing that?
No, yes, everyone's got to sign it. There's
I
a page-
signed it.
Yeah.
But where was that other little book?
Yeah, where's the blue
Where's the blue book?
Over here.
You've all had a guess at the Melba Marcos wardrobe? All right, okay, go on. Keep it going.
Okay, ready for a question?
Quick.
What is PB's number plate? Hang on.
No, up the back there. Who have you got, Nina?
I have got
Mary Dale.
Yeah, who, what's it? What was his number plate? Triple J, that's Mandy. Mandy. Come here, Mandy.
Alright, ready? What is Peter's middle name? John Francis. James got it.
So don't you go back to your seat.
Alright. If Peter himself needs to go to hospital, where does he go?
Simone.
Yes.
Cabrini. How many times?
Once.
All right. You're forgiven.
Overnight.
Alright. did Peter and Nina get married?
1973.
Well, I did hear it there. Righto, 1970.
73 is correct.
So what,
We'll give it to you.
what anniversary did they just have?
Okay.
What anniversary did they just have?
Which relation of Peter,
Which what?
relation
Yeah.
of Peter radiographed Serena Williams?
Radio what?
Serena Williams. And what's his brother's name?
What's his brother's name?
Did they get it right there?
Frank. Okay.
All right.
I've got
This is the last question.
last.
What creature did Peter mow over?
Donna's the only one.
A snake. Yes. A tiger.
Tiger snake. Gee, you picked your friends well.
That concludes the
All right,
lesson.
thank you, Bev. Now what do we do?
Oh, at the end, we'll do a bit of a draw.
You go and get, or you got to get now.
No, I've got tickets aside.
Oh,
Do it.
oh.
Everyone else want to get in the speech first.
All right, okay, righto. We'll come to the end. Now, Nina, darling, don't go back. Nina, these are going to be words of wisdom, and we're just, with bated breath, we wait for Nina. Thank you, Nina. Give her a clap, give her a clap. She deserves it.
As I'm listening to these wonderful accolades and speeches and funny moments, I'm reminded of a couple of funny moments myself. One of them was the first time I ever saw Peter Burke in Theatre Greens. Green!
He just won a
So
prize
it's
for food.
I know, it was a long time ago, and I had to get him to sign, I think it was an insurance examination I had to have. And I had to go into the hospital and then into the theatre suite, which I didn't even know where it was.
Which hospital?
And they said, you know, down the corridor, turn left, go through the double door, and somebody will see you there. And I did, and I said, look, I need to get Peter to sign a piece of paper. And they said, just a minute. And Dr. Kildare. And I went, I went all gooey. I had actually never seen Peter Burke in his work here before then. And the girls, and Angie, I think it was you. You looked at me and you said, haven't you ever seen him in his theatre gear? And so the girls took some photographs, and I had photographs on the fridge for some time. And then there was the first time I ever met Peter Burke. And at this stage I'd spent a couple of years in Europe, and I came home and I was just checking on my parents because they were about to be married for 25 years. And I went to a wedding of some very good friends, and I met this bloke who I thought he was quite fetchy. And but I thought, you know, this is really against the grain. Here I am. I'm really not really interested in Australians. I don't really think that blokes under 50 know how to look after a girl.
Uncouth.
But he was really quite cute. So we pursued the conversation, and here we are.
He's not under 50 anymore.
No. And something that I have enjoyed all my life is learning from Peter, and I hadn't realised until probably the last 10 or 20 or 30 years how much I enjoyed that. His knowledge of history of medicine particularly was always interesting, and we shared that, and I have learned a great deal, and I think it's been part of the success of this union.
Yeah, good one.
Excuse me, aren't you Mrs. He's such a dear. He's so lovely.
They're all over 80, I
Average age is about 75. But Pete, enjoy your retirement.
Oh, lovely. Nina. Give her a big kiss. Give her a big kiss. That was lovely. Yeah, that was beautiful. Christine would like to follow up a little bit. You got something there, Chris?
Peter, I don't want to rain on your parade at this particular point in time. I'm not quite sure whether the timing's quite right. However, I know that you thought tonight was all about you, and in actual fact it is. However, I don't believe that you will be, you would think any the less of the evening if I didn't take this opportunity to acknowledge a colleague who worked with you at Maui, in Diane Shardle, who is also retiring after 26 years on December 11th. Diane, I think, commenced working at Maui before you. In fact, I think she started in 1986. Is that right, Diane? 85. So she's 3 years ahead of you. She worked in CSSD in that time. I don't want to talk a lot about Diane, except to say there will be an opportunity, I think, for the girls to celebrate her time with working in CSSD. CSSD is a very important part of the operating suite. It is the cog in the wheel that keeps our instruments and the surgeons operating, and I think a lot of the time it's certainly underestimated because they are out and about, but they certainly
Good on you, guys.
I think for all of us, we would know Diane as the most patriotic and loyal supporter of any Australian athlete, regardless of what they do. And if you want to know anything about any particular person in the sporting arena, Diane will tell you. And lo and behold, any person that challenges or tries to put down anybody that's Australian who has contributed in our sporting arena. Of course, that doesn't, we also have to acknowledge Diane's contribution to the Melbourne Football Club. I think we all know. If you really want to upset her, is to say anything about the Melbourne Football Club and do not step a foot inside that CSSD department, because she will hold it against you. She has run our football tipping with great passion for several years, and she has done it with a great deal of love and really enjoys doing that. She's also been a member of the Melbourne Football Club cheer squad for over 20 years now. I'm 24, I beg your pardon, Diane. But I just think, I hope you don't mind, Peter, but I thought that we should acknowledge her at this night as well. Thank you, and I'm sure. Thank you. I'd also just like to thank Angie, Tim and June and Bev for the contribution to the evening, and as Gordon has said, I just wonder what they're going to come up with next. So the next person that comes to the top, agree with what Gordon has to say, that you have been an absolute gentleman in the operating suite. Of all the surgeons, I think you always acknowledge and appreciate the contribution, particularly of the nursing staff, and we certainly appreciate that, and it certainly doesn't go unacknowledged. The one thing I do like about Tuesdays is that I know that in Theatre 2 there is a chance that we will finish at 4:30. And the other thing from a nursing point of view is that we do like that we can understand your writing.
What amazes me about Peter is that he knows everybody's name. Unless they've been in the theatre for 20 years or something. I'm hopeless. It's always been a problem. Faces are not bad, but names elude me. But Peter knows everyone's name. No matter where I was in the little Vietnamese bakery down the street getting some pies for the kids on Sunday. And one of the ex-theatre nurses, well, I presume she was, she came in to me. She came in, oh, well, effusive, and she even took her sunglasses off so that I would recognise her. The conversation was animated, customers came and went, and the kids were after their pies, and she was engaging me in conversation, and she gave me a hug and a kiss at the end, and I said to the little Vietnamese lady, I said, I haven't got a clue who that is. And the little Vietnamese lady, the inscrutable orange, she laughed and laughed. But I just remember at that point, he's saying if Peter Burke was here, he would remember who this was, he'd engage in the conversation fully, and I'm fumbling around. Peter, I've admired you because you do pay care and attention to those things. They are a great attribute of yours, and I just admire them, and I'm embarrassed that I'm nowhere near it. But anyway, by the way, just a few things that Christine said. Now, June, do you have a little presentation? Do I need to spell it? Before we hear you, Pete.
I've got to sing from the song.
Yes? Then you.
Should we let him speak first, or should we do the brief?
Yeah, but that's what I'm told.
Buddy?
I'm only doing what I'm told.
Gordon, can you MC my wedding? My name's Donna.
I've given up my day. Oh, you've taken my seat. Now what do I sit on?
You don't sit anywhere.
I don't sit anywhere. They've taken my seat.
No, Nina, please, Nina.
Oh.
Nina.
We all have to do what we're told, Pete. I'm only doing what I'm told.
You wouldn't be here today, Peter, if it wasn't for your lovely wife. As female of the species, we look after you guys, so.
You do well. You do well. We can see.
Thank you very much.
Howdy, Pete. There's a table here. You want to use that?
Oh, he's a man. I lifted this in here by myself.
Well, wait. What about that table? People will want to see.
No, you can open it.
How do you do that?
Will you move out of the way?
Dad. Cards.
All right, I'll hold it in place. I can do that. Go on.
Just want to hold the gift.
Yeah, go on. Peter's opening. Come on,
Peter
open it,
Burke,
Peter.
on behalf of every one of us here, just a little gift.
Not little. Gee, it's heavy too. Go on, Pete. Do the opening. Do the honours.
It's all the gold from South Africa.
What?
It's all the gold from South Africa.
The gold?
And the diamonds.
Where's the knife?
Oh, don't
That's the fella that's on that picture. Near the exhibitionist. Get it open, Pete.
No worries.
No worries, brother.
As Mike Sanderson would say, all right, sport. Oh, wow. Oh, this is...
What do I do? Is it upside down?
It's an easel, I'd say, to...
You can't very well open that, can you, eh? We'll accept that, Pete, and we'll look for your response. I'll put it over here.
Peter,
Yes.
just a little something
Oh,
to go with the easel, all right? There's a
what's
little-
this thing?
Thank you.
That's from any cooking to make.
Oh, all right. Well, how about we put it here, brother, and we'll get all this paper here.
Thank you, George.
And we look for your
Thank you. It was Millie's last day at the convent school, and Reverend Mother came out to her and said, Millie, what are you going to do with your life? She said, oh, my mother, Reverend Mother, I'm going to be a prostitute. Reverend Mother passed out on the spot, was revived with the smelling salts, came to her and said, bring that girl back to me. Said, Millie, what are you going to do when you leave school, now that you've finished? She said, my mother, she said, I'm going to be a prostitute. I said, oh, thank God for that. I thought you said a Protestant. I spent 7 months driving through your lawn north and tyres around the highway blocked.
Scenic route.
And I thought, that's it, I'm retiring, this is too far coming to work. And then they reopened the highway. But I'd already put the letter in. I think I was sort of genetically programmed really for medicine, with a father a doctor from Melbourne Uni and my mother a nurse from the Mater Hospital in Brisbane. They met during the war. So I went into medical school at Melbourne following my father. And I think my two greatest achievements at Melbourne University were firstly passing in the 6-year course, getting through, and also taking part in the famous Monash University, Melbourne University bed race. Now that's not what it sounds, we were actually pushing those old steel beds. And there was a team from each year, so there were 12 teams, 6 teams from Melbourne University, first year, second year, and the same from Monash. I think we came third, I can't remember, we drank so much at the end. But that was a long run, and none of the other guys were fit enough, and I ended up running pretty well from Monash to Melbourne, running through St Kilda Junction, up St Kilda Road, past Young and Jackson's, looking at them longingly as they were having a beer, and finally got to Melbourne University, and I developed march fractures after that. I limped around for about 6 weeks. I had my Dunlop volleys on. I didn't have much support, but that was a great achievement. Then I was at the St Vincent's Clinical School, and I came across one of the greatest teachers of all time, Professor Carl de Grucci, who's a wonderful man. And just to show you the age that I've come from, he spoke about the signs on patients. He'd look for signs. And he had threepenny signs and sixpenny signs. And threepence meant he spot, it was fairly obvious, but sixpence you'd get, that was the reward, it was a bit harder to pick. He was talking things about like a jaundice patient, or someone with palmar erythema might be a threepenny sign. And then someone with spider nevi on their face, or feet, or hepaticus, that would be a sixpence sign. But it just shows you the changing eras. When I passed and finally got my fellowship, Jim McCoy, one of the surgeons at St Vincent's, came up to me and said rather wistfully, he said, Peter, he said, I always thought you were rather intelligent. He said, but he said, now you've gone and passed your fellowship. He said, from now on you'll have to work for a living. So, and I had many great times at St Vincent's, and particularly one of them was with Bill Gayton, the head of the orthopaedic unit. Bull Gayton, as he was better known. And one day we had this boy who'd been in a serious car accident at Easter. He was driving his BMW. He's one of the Meyer family. And he came into the ward with fractured shaft of femur and was being treated in a Thomas Splint traction. Wasn't getting any better, so Mr. Gayton came in. He said, "Come on, Burke, we'll go up to theatre and see Sister Miriam, the nun in charge of theatre." So we go up there. He said, "Right, sister, I want a theatre. I've got a fractured femur. I want it." And Mr. Gayton, don't you realise we've got Mr. Claver, I've got Mr. Connell, I've got Mr. Henderson, I've got Mr. Crocker. You can't come into the theatre. No. And I said, "Oh, excuse me, sister, but this is for next Friday." And so she said, "Well, that'll be all right." So we're going down in the lift at St Vincent's there, and Bill Gayton, with his walking stick, pushes the G for ground, and down we go, and he said, "You disappoint me." He said, "I thought a man of your stature would be able to handle a woman." He said, "Why on earth did you have to tell her? That was her job to ask." And the same Kevin Moriarty, who was in my year, became quite famous because he anaesthetised the orangutans, amongst other things. Came up to theatre once, and Sister Miriam was there waiting, and she said, "Dr. Moriarty, I saw you walking down into casualty in those clothes. Go back and change them at once." And he said, "Sister, I saw you walking across the casualty car park yard in the same shoes you're wearing now. What do? Walk through holy water?" I have never seen anyone removed so fast from theatre to the medical superintendent's office. But somehow Kevin survived that. We went to the UK then for the then traditional NHS experience, and I think the training was very different then because I did a lot of assisting as a registrar. My two best terms at St Vincent's were 6 months at Geelong and 6 months at Panch. The rest of the time at St Vincent's you were just holding a retractor. So I went over to the UK, and we arrived in '77, the year of Queen Elizabeth's Silver Jubilee. And because I was the only doctor in out of the street, and we lived in Hackney, where the Olympic Village is to be next year, in the East End. And they said, "Oh, doctor, we want you to judge the best decorated house and the fancy dress like the pearly kings and queens." And I said, "Well, all right." I said, I'll judge the best decorated house, but only on the condition that we're anonymous, that no one are now, "Oh, don't worry about that, doctor, it'll be fine. No mention, no names." I said, "Right." So Nina and I walked up and down Glen Road, Hackney, where we lived, and it was like Coronation Street. It was just a continuum of bluestone houses, just huge, just went for miles. So we selected what we thought were the best 3 houses. And so at the bank holiday fancy dress show, they announced, they said, "Now, we're announcing now the winner of the best decorated house," because the trouble they went to in the East End as opposed to the West End of London was incredible. The bunting and the flowers and the patriotism was extraordinary. So Nina and I picked what we thought were the best house, and anyhow the woman gets up and says, "Well, now our judges, Dr. and Mrs. Burke from number 10. I said, "Nina, start heading for the door." I said, "And they've selected number 278. And the second house was number 149. "Yeah, go Dennis, you beauty," and all this. It turned out that we put the milkman second. So I knew that we committed. I didn't know where he lived, and so the next morning they drive those battery-driven floats. Those of you who've lived in England, you hear this sort of, they whir up the street. So I said to Nina, "I better go out and see Dennis." And I said, "Hello, Dennis. I'm sorry about that." He said, "The Mrs. Fair wept all night." I said, "She's unconsolate." So that was was a terrible gaffe, but I didn't want to be announced. But every morning as I walked through into the hospital, they had this old gate, and it's so big that it had an operating theatre above it, an archway. And every morning I go past, all the orderlies were there in the grey uniforms, and I'd say, "G'day fellas," and they'd all think that was very funny. "G'day." I'd say good morning or whatever, and then finally one morning I was stopped, and they said, "Hey Doc," and I said, "Look, I'm running late for theatre." "No, Doc, Burke wants a word with you." And I said, "Burke?" And they said, "Yeah, Burke." And I said, "Oh, Burke, okay." So I go into this smoke-filled office with layers of smoke in it, with all these guys in their shiny bottom pants and grey suits standing around the wall, and the guy smoking and coughing. And I said, and they said, Burke, Burke would like a word with you. And he said, "Hello, Doc." He said, "I understand that you and the missus and the little ones, you're at number 10 Glen, right?" 10 Glen, no. I said, Yes, sir, yeah, that's right." He said, "I just thought I'd let you know, like, that you'll be all right, right?" Oh my God! And everyone's, and I said, "Oh, thank you very much." He said, "You're a nice geezer. You're a nice geezer, so you'll be all right." Everyone around us was robbed. They had everything stolen, taken, but we were never touched. When we arrived, they were in a house there that had no furniture, no nothing. We had to equip the house, and we finally would do a lot of travelling in from the west end back to the east end without going from various sales. And one of the famous times was the cab driver, because most of the cab drivers were from the east end, Hackney, and they'd pull up outside, they'd pull down the window, the cab say, "Yeah," and I'd say, "Hackney," and they'd go, and they'd shut the window like this, because they'd look at their watch, it wasn't lunchtime. So finally, the guy had picked me up, and so we went home there, and he said, how come you're going from Arrots to Hackney? How come?" He just couldn't understand we were going in the wrong direction. I said, "Thank you, my man, that'll be the title of my autobiography." I remember getting Luton walking for an abdominal emergency at 4 a.m. in the morning with the snow falling, holding an umbrella, walking in that beautiful soft snow under the street lights. Those memories of England. But came back again, back to St Vincent's, and for a while there I was director of casualty. And again I learned the lesson there. We had to do some publicity photographs for the disaster exercises. Every year we did a disaster exercise at Melbourne Airport. And the disaster kit, it was as big as the present I've got. It's like a big suitcase. So I had a female and a male student there, and they had to wear their tabards. So sure enough, I said to the male student, "You put on doctor," and to the female, "You put on nurse." Oh no, big gaff there. The female, she wore the doctor one, and the male wore the nurse one, as they were photographed in the St Vincent's Gazette for the whatever. And it was at St Vincent's I learned a phrase which has stood me in good stead over the years. It's the LTHJ syndrome. And John Doyle, who many here would know, he a bit like Maxwell Smart. He used to talk like that, and we had a surgical meeting one day, and he said, "Classic case of the LTHJ syndrome." So finally someone said, "Excuse me, John, what do you mean the LTHJ syndrome?" He said, "Light touch, high jump." And often patients terrify you. You touch them or you examine them, they go, "Oh!" Oh my God. You never quite get used to that. So we came down to Latrobe Valley again as a born-again surgeon, and of course I was very earnest. I really wanted to know things, and I was taking a careful history from this man one day, and I said, and where did the pain start?" He said, "Yarragon." It's like when I asked this dear little old lady, I'm saying, "Have you had any surgery before, any previous surgery?" She said, "Oh yes," she said, "I've had carnal tunnel." I couldn't correct her. It very much reminded me of Chris Lampole at Maui days, when he always referred to a caesarean section as a vaginal bypass. More recently I was colonoscoping, as people have been referring to tonight, someone, and they had a positive fecal occult blood. And so I did the colonoscopy and found only diverticular disease, and I thought, this is great. So when I sat down with the patient, and the patient said, oh, well, what's the verdict, Mr. Burke? And I said, great news, no colon cancer at all. Oh, that's wonderful. I said, yeah, that's good, isn't it? I said, no, I said, you've only got diverticular disease. Disease! Disease! What? I've got a disease! I said, sit down. Oh my God. It's a bit like I was fortunate to be the first chairman of the Medical Advisory Committee at Maryvale, when Maryvale really, they still hadn't even decided on a name for it. I remember voting against Maryvale because it sounded like the mill, you know, but it was, the hospital was built and it was great. We had great input into Maryvale and that was a wonderful time. But again, Maryvale being a smaller hospital, and people have referred to number plates tonight, and you tend to know the cars. I mean, I don't know George's car, but I know it's the filthiest one. With all the Toongabbie dust, but I knew most of the cars, and one day as I parked dutifully out in the doctor's car park and walked to the front door of Maryvale, in the disabled parking is the car of one Dr. Nick Bliss, psychiatrist. And I thought, boy, I'm going to get Nick when I get in there. So I go into the hospital, I'm wandering around seeing patients, and there I see him there. And I said, hello Nick, how are you? And as he always said to me, he said, are the tablets working? I said, well, yes, so see, I didn't take any at that stage, I was fine. I said, Nick, I've got a bone to pick with you. I said, you are parked illegally in this hospital grounds. And he said, what do you mean? I said, you are parked in the disabled parking. He said, that's right, because I've got a disability. I said, you look fine to me. He said, you come with me, I'll show you the disability. So we marched out of North Ward, down to the front door, out to the disabled parking, and there he said, right. He said, look. And there in the car, running around, jumping over the seats, was a three-legged fox terrier. And he said, see, my dog's got a disability. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry, Nick. I said, so trying to salvage my pride, I said, and what's your dog's name? And he said, Tripod. We come now to Latrobe Regional Hospital, and of course when I was then chairman of staff and we're opening the new hospital with great fanfare, and I'm being photographed with the Minister for Health, Rob Knowles, and Mark Bryce, the head of Australian Hospital Care and everything else, whereas my darling wife is outside leading this protest with a Pantechnicon, a big furniture truck, parked on the median strip just where Jeff Kennett's helicopter was coming over. And on the side of it said, no hospital privatisation. And, so it turned out to be true, of course. Yeah. But recently I was clambering over the butts on our no-smoking hospital, slipping and sliding in them. And I went to post a letter in the little bus station there at LRH, and I did my best Doc Martin, channeled Martin Clune sneer at this woman smoking there, posted my letter, and as she went back, she said, hi Mr. Burke, she said, your operation was wonderful, I've never felt better. I said, well, they won't do you much good. She said, I don't worry about it. I think another little plus for me, and was a nice milestone, was to conduct, thanks to Catherine James, who's here tonight, and lovely to see her, was the very first operation at LRH, and Debbie Kennedy was my scrub nurse, and she did a brilliant job as always. So Debbie, that was a great thrill. We did the first operation. I got a bottle of cheap sparkle from the administration for that, but that was fine. But I knew though that my time was starting to run out when one day I was scrubbing up at the sinks there outside Theatre 2, and Rowena, some of you may remember Rowena, the lovely blonde anaesthetist, whose husband was in the Air Force, so they were with us temporarily, they'd gone back to New Zealand. And I'm scrubbing up there, and I can use that as an excuse. And Rowena says to me, Peter, and I said, yes, what? And she said, she's sitting over at the write-up desk, and she said, do you know a good hotel in Echuca? And I said, what? Do I know a good hotel in Echuca? She said, no. I said, do you know the password to this computer? Time was running out for me. Just scribble down a couple of other little things. The changes in surgery since I started, like with the drugs for peptic ulcer, we were brought up as registrars doing vagotomy and pyloroplasties and all those sorts of procedures. And with these, you know, the Nexiums and whatever, it's just so amazing. And laparoscopic surgery, that was a big hurdle. We thought, you know, we'd done everything, knew everything, and then here we are in 1989, 1990 or whatever, having to go off and learn a whole new skill, the advances in endoscopy and all that sort of thing, etc., etc. And also there's been a lot of changes with how they contact the doctors. In the old days it was the overhead paging Mr. Burke, paging Dr. Burke or whatever, and then came the last gasp. And we thought we were just so up with it. The great thing was, or the bad thing about it, was so completely anonymous. Someone wanted us, but who? But nowadays, of course, with all our phones and gadgets and gizmos, it's all pretty good. I think one of the sad things that's happened in my working lifetime has been the exclusion of the GPs from the hospitals. In the old days, when we had meetings, we'd have 40 or 45 people at a lunchtime meeting to talk about the hospital and how it was running. Now, as George Owen will tell you, we can barely scratch up a quorum even amongst the senior staff there. And another little important memory for me has always been the Morwell Medical Society. Perhaps many of the nurses here may not have known about it, but it was a loose fellowship of pretty well all the doctors in the area, and it really helped us sort of bond together. It had a great motto, brevite cum laude brevite. In other words, keep it short, you know, in any talk, and I'm not really following that tonight. I remember we had a lot of meetings, and I remember the chair throwing competition won by David McMahon, the dentist, who eclipsed Rodney Bond, who was then our oncologist, and etc., etc. But surgery is ever advancing, and now it's my turn to step down. I said to David Burks a few years back, I said, it's funny, I see us all like, it's a poor analogy, we put like logs in the river and we're floating towards a waterfall. And we're slowly going over that waterfall. First three, then David, then Gordon, now me. And as I said, only David Chan left. But I've enjoyed this trip. It's been all too brief. I really, as I was saying to a lot of you tonight, I think, this great party, who's it for? You know, and suddenly you realise this is it. But it's not it. I'm really just coming off the on-call roster, and will still be working, and I look forward to seeing you all. So I apologise in advance if I leave anyone out here, but in thanking everyone. But again, from my early days at the Trove Valley, and I'm talking now more about the clerical and administrative staff, Betty Dobson and Mary Phillips, thank you both for coming tonight. You were just fantastic. Then in the middle years, of course, it was Sue Payne, and of course my landlady Tanya Bowl, who has looked after me marvellously. And in the last few years, Kerry McClure, thank you, Kerry. And also I must make special mention of my colleague Midhat Ghali, who towards the end of the last year or so has just been absolutely fantastic, understanding, without going in any detail. He just said, Peter, on your Tuesday on call, he said, you do the days and I'll do the nights. So thank you, Midhat, you saved me a lot. And as many people have said, and I'm finishing now, you'll be relieved to know, but once again, thanks so much to Nina. I couldn't have done it without her. To have a wife who would move from Kew to come down to the wilds of the Latrobe Valley, not many specialist wives would make that move, and Nina confidence that I'll be where you are. And I really thank you most sincerely for that, because I can honestly say the last 25 years have been pretty well the happiest of my whole life. And I'd also like to thank my 4 great children for being here and their partners. Thank you.
Well, that was a great talk. He's worked on that one, and it's a beauty. I remember after my farewell, Roger Fitzgerald spoke to me and said, because I'd mentioned a few of the people that had been in the Latrobe Valley from my experience of the 33 years, and he said to me, really, Gordon, someone should write a history of medicine in the Latrobe Valley. He said, probably no one would read it, but you should do it anyway. Well, I can't think of a better person. There's a challenge for you, brother. I'll read it. I promise you I'll read it. And I reckon you could do that. Well, I reckon we've had a great night. Now, did we plan to get a photograph? I really enjoyed that. Did we? Timbo, where are you, brother? Do you think we can line up? So I've got a lovely photo where I was with, first of all, with the doctors, and then I was with all the nursing staff. I've got 2 photos at home. Is there somewhere where we, Timbo? Where will we go? I'm very interested. Let me go back. Peter, when you gave that first joke about the prostitutes and the Protestants, I hope you noticed there was a clap of thunder. Absolutely synchronised. I said, that'll get him. All right, now, Tim, what'll we do? Look, there's cups of tea. While people are getting their cups of tea and coffee over there, we might move some chairs and things over there while Bev finishes off our little quiz. Come on, Bev. In other words, after this little section, I wonder if all you people from that end will all go up and have a cup of coffee at that end, and we'll just move some chairs so that we... What do you say, June? All right, we'll wait for June. That's always a better idea, wait for June. Okay, Bev.
Peter, will you please come up here just to draw the number?
Peter.
Pick 5. No, or 10. No, 5.
He's held up because George and Barbara are very busy people. They've got to go to another function. Merry Christmas, George and Barbara.
Anyway, while we're waiting for Peter, Peter has donated the prize to the thing. It's a red, so a bit worth it. Thank you, Peter, for donating the book.
What does he do? Where are
This is my Audi
Aaron.
crystal. So
your Audi Crystal?
now you need to scrabble around and just pick one out. They've all got the same numbers on it.
Oh, they all have.
As the ones there. In my Audi crystal.
He's got one.
Oh, my birthday, 18.
Come and get it, number 8.
I think, Simone, you got it for screaming out the loud.
Thank you, Simone. Now, where's that little blue book? Has everyone written their little guess in the blue book?
Where's the blue ball? Righto, let's have the blue. All right, I'll come and get it. Right, here's the blue ball.
Oh, alright, I just have to quickly peruse the answers. Hang on a minute. Okay, so the hint that I was giving around before, I don't know if everybody heard the hint, but how many ties does Peter have? And it was over 20 but less than 500.
Well, someone started off at 250.
And I'll give you a clue, it's less than 250 as well, but it is more than 100.
What? Is something pathological with you, son?
I think the exact number is something like 150 something, Nina was telling me.
157. Did anybody write 157?
I wrote 147.
Then we have a 250, a 375.
What's the
147.
closest? What's 157?
We've got a 198 and a 129.
What have you said?
I said 147.
No, someone's just higher than that.
Okay, we
What?
have...
Anyone close to 157?
Neil Harris has guessed 147.
Anybody better? Debbie, what did you say? 157, 65, that's 8. What was yours? 147 and 8, 160. What did you say? I can't. Who's the winner? Here we are. Come on, darling. Yeah. Good on you. 157?